today, today we're going to be starting with one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Jeff Hardy. And we're going to be talking about when he was a heel in TNA. When he called himself the Antichrist of pro wrestling. Don't know why, but he looked cool. I don't know why, but this is from KLA Clips. This is the first time I'm watching from their channel, so I don't know if their videos are good. I would assume so. It looks like it might be cool. But yeah, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and let's get into it. There you go.
In the world of professional wrestling, one of the hardest and most important things you could do is keep your character or your product as fresh as possible. Every wrestler has the potential to explode and become wildly popular, but every gimmick has a shelf life. As over as you are in that moment, it's near impossible to maintain for a long period of time, and the crowd will eventually turn. There are certainly exceptions to this rule where wrestlers will remain universally over no matter what period of the career they're in, and they won't have to change a thing, but they do to maintain interest in their characters. Some examples of this practice include Stone Cold Steve Austin turning heel in 2001 despite being the most over babyface, CM Punk turning heel in 2012 despite again being the most over babyface in the company, and Jeff Hardy, one of the most popular wrestlers of all time, turning heel in 2010 and becoming a version of himself that we had never seen before and haven't seen since. A character with so much promise and so much potential that we never got to see its conclusion due to reasons completely unrelated with the product or character itself, and that is what we will be discussing in today's video. This video is a result of a poll that I ran on my community tab, and it gained almost 40% of the nearly 600 votes casted. If you would like to decide in the next video, keep an eye out for whenever I put these polls out. If you do enjoy this video and you want to see more videos about all the random and cool stuff that comes from pro wrestling, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. With that being said, let's get right into it.
I'm a huge fan of... But nah, the fact that a lot of babyface runs get changed because usually like they be having the highest fan base, and then you know what? Let's make him a bad guy. Like what are we doing? But I remember when Jeff became a bad guy, but I don't remember everything because it was such long ago. But let's see what KLA about to tell us, man. That hockey jersey tough.
Plants, artificial plants.
Meet Jeff Hardy. This isn't the first I've talked about Jeff Hardy, as I touched on his career briefly in a video a couple months back, but I did not go that deep into it. Hardy is one of the most universally acclaimed wrestlers of all time and possibly the most popular of the 21st century.
You don't love Jeff, you don't love wrestling,
champion, 13 times he's been a tag champion with his brother Matt, a plethora of other titles and accolades in between, alongside a deep catalog of classic matches in North America as both a singles and tag wrestler. Hardy's popularity really skyrocketed over the years and won over crowds all over the world due to his willingness to attempt very dangerous
I ain't never seen that.
matches. He is credited as an innovator and has this overall unique charisma about him that has resonated with millions upon millions
a crazy
of people.
bump.
When describing Jeff, you might have heard the expression, Jeff Hardy is bigger than 2008 Barack Obama once or twice. That's how massive of a star he was and is. So you would never think a guy like him would ever turn heel, right? He simply didn't need to. Before we get into the meat and potatoes,
I ain't gonna lie though, Jeff really was. He really was bigger than Obama in 08 though. Like he was really him. Like it was Jeff and then it was Obama, and I'm a black man saying this. That's how crazy it was. Jeff is basically an honorary black man at this point. I ain't gonna lie. And when he wore the paint like that, that was a peak era. He was high as hell though during that time.
In the video, we're gonna try and break down the next 7 years as quickly as possible. Jeff was released from WWE in April 2003 with the company citing drug use, erratic behavior, and no showing events as their reasoning. Jeff made appearances for Ring of Honor in 2003. He got over horribly with the ROH crowd, who would shower Jeff with such chants as "We want Matt" and "You got fired."
That's
he
crazy.
made his debut for TNA Wrestling in June of 2004. Was a consistent draw and contender for both the NWA World Heavyweight and the X Division Championships, and eventually would be suspended multiple times for no showing events. He would ultimately be released from TNA in June of 2006. Jeff made his return to WWE in August of 2006, a little over 2 months since his release from TNA.
Did you die like 3 years ago?
Following his return, he won the Intercontinental title a couple of times, won the tag titles yet again after reuniting the Hardy Boys with Matt, and was even pegged to win Money in the Bank in 2008 before he was suspended for 60 days for violating WWE's wellness policy. Side note, CM Punk ended up winning the contract, cashing in on Edge and winning his first world title. Anyways, he returned, went to SmackDown, won his first world title, lost it after his brother Matt betrayed him, entered a crazy feud with him. He'd win the World Heavyweight Championship and lose it to CM Punk, who cashed in Money in the Bank for the second time. Feuded with Punk throughout the summer, where they trade the title back and forth, before eventually losing a loser leaves WWE match to Punk on an episode of SmackDown in August of 2009. This wasn't kayfabe.
Bro, this match made me so sad, bro. Cause the day he lost that match, it was a day before my birthday, and I'm thinking this kayfabe, he gonna be back. And then the next week, CM Punk gonna pull up with face paint on, saying he Jeff. Heart was broke. My heart was broke, man. I ain't rock with Punk for a minute after that. I ain't gonna lie.
Either Jeff legitimately left WWE in 2009 with 2 herniated discs in his lower back, as well as suffering from restless leg syndrome. Following this, Jeff took a sabbatical from
body was
wrestling
cooked.
to get his
I ain't
body
know that.
right, and he wouldn't appear anywhere else during the remainder of 2009. January 4th, 2010 was a big day in the world of professional wrestling. New Japan held their annual Wrestle Kingdom event. Bret Hart returned to WWE television for the first time since 1997.
Goldberg
and TNA
hit him.
Wrestling moved their weekly show Impact from their usual Thursday time slot to Monday in an effort to compete with WWE in the ratings,
Which was
something
idiotic.
the company hasn't done since WCW in the 90s. For TNA to do something this bold, they surely had an ace up their sleeve for this monumental occasion, right? In late 2009, TNA brought in
damn.
Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan to
little
oversee
epileptic after
creative.
that.
Hogan, one of the biggest names in the history of professional wrestling,
Brother,
being
brother,
associated
brother,
with the
fuck
brand
you, brother,
before all
fuck
the
you,
racist
brother.
shit was quite the get for TNA in terms of name value. Same goes for Eric Bischoff, who was seen as a major factor in gaining the edge over Vince McMahon in the ratings war between Raw and Nitro. This was huge for TNA, but it wasn't the only new arrivals the company would see in the coming months. TNA used to have these Steel Asylum matches that essentially
You
a cage
couldn't
match,
see
but there's a
nothing in
dome
them
over
matches,
the
bro.
cage that you have to climb out the top of.
You
to
couldn't
win.
see
It was
nothing.
primarily used in the X Division. It was used on the January 4th edition of Impact, and during the match, Homicide pulled out a police baton and started beating the shit out of everyone.
God
And then in
damn.
a no contest for whatever reason, Homicide got out somehow
That's
and
crazy.
used some random music playing out of nowhere. It turned out that the music belonged to one Jeffrey
Yes,
Merrill
sir,
Hardy, who made the song
Jeffrey.
himself. It's called Modest, who made his way through the fans of the Impact Zone in Orlando, whacked the fuck out of Homicide with a
Damn.
steel chair, delivered a twist of fate, climbed up the asylum, and just stared out at his new surroundings. Just spent the first
That
few
was
months getting
aura, though.
acclimated
I ain't
to
gonna lie. That
TNA
was
as
aura
more
right
stars
there.
like Ken Anderson, formerly known as Mr. Kennedy in WWE, and Rob Van Dam would make their way to TNA in the months following. His first pay-per-view match took place at Lockdown in April, being a part of the
that's
Lethal
crazy.
Lockdown match, which was more or less their version of War Games. That Thursday, he faced and lost to RVD in a number 1 contenders match for the world title, then held by AJ Styles. RVD beat Styles that same night to end his then record 211-day reign as TNA World Heavyweight Champion and began a reign of his own. At Victory Road in July of that year, Hardy would lose a shot at the world title in a match against Van Dam in a 4-way involving Anderson and Abyss. Speaking of Abyss, he began sort of a mentorship storyline with Hulk Hogan during this time, which ultimately led to Abyss receiving Hogan's WWE Hall of Fame ring, and he would even win Ric Flair's Hall of Fame ring.
That's a stupid thing to do. That's just a stupid thing. But also I want to say, man, this guy talks fast. I don't know whether I like it, but I kind of rock with how fast he talks and how fast he goes telling the storylines though. Let me know how y'all feel about it, man. I kind of rock with him telling the story this fast.
Eventually, Abyss turned back into a heel. After this, Abyss became more secluded, created a 2x4 with nails hanging out of it, which went by Janice.
Oh,
utilized
that's-
his sit-out
that's
torture
when
breaker
Janice
more
became
often
a
as a
thing.
finisher, more
Okay.
known as the shock treatment, and rambled on about how he was controlled by an entity and that they were on their way. Abyss continued his pursuit of the world title and faced RVD in a Stairway to Janice match on a special episode of Impact titled The Whole Effin' Show. RVD retained, a brawl ensued. It eventually led to the fight being continued to the backstage area for RVD and Abyss hit RVD with Janice, taking him out of action and involuntarily
Damn.
relinquishing the world title in the process. TNA made an 8-man tournament using
Killed
the
that
top
man.
8 ranked wrestlers in the company. The goal was to complete the semifinals at No Surrender in September, with the winners of each matchup facing each other in the finals at Bound for Glory for the vacant world title. At No Surrender, Mr. Anderson beat the Pope to advance, and the other match was Jeff Hardy versus Kurt Angle. The match went a staggering 30 minutes and ended in a time limit draw. Due to this,
Nah, that's
both
crazy.
Hardy and
Draws,
Angle were
wow.
added to the match with Anderson at Bound for Glory to crown a new world champion. At the event on 10/10/10, October 10th, 2010, they had a great match before a ref bump took place. Anderson hits a mic check finish on Angle. All men are down, and this is when that damn Eric Bischoff makes his way to the ring with a chair in hand. Hogan, coming out in crutches, slowly makes his way to the ring to seemingly confront Bischoff. Bischoff throws a chair out of the ring. Hogan gives Bischoff a talking to, incidentally gives a crutch to Bischoff, and the two T's swinging them at one another. Jeff rolls back into the ring. Hogan gives him a crutch, and it seems like he's gonna go after Bischoff until he turns around and hits Angle in the back as hard as he could with that crutch.
And that's where it all started, man. That's where it's all started.
He hits Anderson with that other crutch,
Boom!
hits a twist of fate. Bischoff drags Brian Hebner to make the count while he kicks him in the
Nah,
midsection.
kick him during
and the
pin
match
is
over.
crazy.
Jeff Hardy is your new world
That's
champion,
wild.
but at what cost?
Hey, bro.
Remember when I was talking about how Abyss was mentioning that they were coming? Well, this is they, now
Well-
known as Immortal. Everything had gone according to their plan from the get-go. In my opinion, it was honestly a great reveal and a great closing segment to their biggest show of the year in hindsight. At the time, people don't really see it the same way that I do. So, would TNA be able to capitalize and justify such a decision? After all, it takes
Hell
a lot of
no.
balls to turn one of your biggest baby faces, one of your
Not
biggest
at all.
draws, into a heel. Well, they did do something that was honestly unnecessary, but something so unique that Jeff Hardy had never done before that it just might work.
I used to love that shit. We used to do that with the belt, bro.
As I look down at the world from 25,000 feet above,
Why they
it becomes
censor Jeff?
more and more apparent to
That
me that
copyright a
I was
motherfucker.
always in control of my own destiny. I was always above it all. I was always better than everybody else. And as I catered, looking for acceptance, Eric and Hulk made it clear to me that your acceptance was meaningless. It didn't bring me fame. Most importantly, it didn't bring me money. I am the here, I am the now. I am the Antichrist of professional wrestling.
October 14th, 2010.
That motherfucker was tweaking, man. And I ain't gonna lie, man. That heel Jeff Hardy theme was so ass. like that shit was ass, gang. I ain't gonna lie. I love you, Jeff, but that shit was
The day the Antichrist of professional wrestling is born. As expected,
He
with such
did
a
have
heel
that
turn,
shit on,
they
though.
completely reinvented Jeff Hardy and transformed him into something unlike anything we've ever seen in TNA before. Everything, from his attire, to his entrances, to his promos, it was something completely different from anything else in pro wrestling at this point, during a period where it felt like they were desperately trying to become WWE. Outside of Asushi Onita and R-Truth at one time on Raw, I've hardly seen a wrestler smoke a cigarette on air and pull it off. Add
Yeah,
Jeff
that
to
was
list.
wild.
During this time, Jeff designed his own version of the world title, and it was used
I ain't gonna lie. I'm probably one of the few people that actually like this belt. I thought this belt was pretty cool, but I didn't even realize the side plates have his face on it. That's tough. Now this belt is crazy. This is a tough belt. They was hating on this belt, man. I ain't gonna lie. This is a tough belt.
used by him during this reign. Not really my cup of tea, but it's still sick that he got to use it. As far as Jeff's reign goes, it was certainly one that had happened. He began a feud with Matt Morgan, who was kicked out of the Fortune stable shortly after they had merged with Immortal. This feud resulted in 2 matches between them for the world title at the Turning Point and Final Resolution pay-per-views to close out 2010. The Turning Point match ended mostly clean, with Jeff working on Morgan's leg throughout the match and winning with what was now known as a Twist of Hate. The Final Resolution match,
Twist
this
of
time a
Hate.
no DQ match with Mr. Anderson as the special guest ref, until he got taken out inadvertently. Morgan hits a carbon footprint,
Damn.
covers Jeff for a solid 40 seconds. Hardy hits a
Crazy.
low blow and a twist of hate to Morgan onto the steel chair to retain once again. Hardy's next defense was in the Tokyo Dome against a young Tetsuya Naito on
Had him in
January 4th,
Japan?
2011 at Wrestle Kingdom 5. During the match, Jeff was notably intoxicated and is one of the main reasons as to why New Japan ended their working relationship with TNA. Many cite how TNA treated talents like Okada or Naito as the main reason, but I would argue that TNA sending their world champion to them in the condition that he was in as being more disrespectful. Unfortunately,
That's crazy, bro. They really let Jeff wrestle. I'm surprised they ain't take the belt away from him after he put up to Japan drunk. Like, y'all could have been nipped that in the bud, bro. That's awful. That's awful right there.
this wasn't the first time that Hardy had wrestled inebriated, and it sure as shit was not the last. More on that
Yeah,
later.
we gon-
move to
we gon'
Genesis
hear
on
about it.
January 9th, 2011. Mr. Anderson had just defeated Matt Morgan to become the #1 contender for Jeff's world title. Eric Bischoff comes out and reveals that Anderson's opportunity for the title is taking place right here and right now.
No,
The
that's
match takes
correct.
place, there's a lot of nonsense that happens here. There were a bunch of run-ins involving RVD and Matt Hardy, who had just debuted for TNA early in the night. Hardy goes for a twist of hate.
Hey!
Anderson counters into another mic
He
check.
done
goes
ripped
for the
out them
pin,
damn
gets the 3
jeans.
count, and ends Hardy's 91-day reign as world champion. As a Ken Anderson fan, it was cool to finally see him win something, but you can't help
That
but
is
feel
real.
that this reign for Jeff ended abruptly. You want to know what else ended abruptly? Anderson's own reign as world champion, as he lost the title back to Hardy 35 days later at the Against All Odds pay-per-view in a ladder match. On March 3rd, 2011, Hardy defended the world title against a mystery opponent, revealed to be Sting.
Oh,
Sting had been out in
yeah.
TNA since October of 2010 and had been heavily rumored at this point to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania, but it did not come to be, and he made his return to TNA, where he'd beat Hardy and win his 3rd TNA world title in about 6 minutes. Throughout the week, a rematch for the world title was set between Sting and Hardy at the Victory Road event on Sunday, March 13th, and this
Man, if you know, you know, man. This is like, I feel like this should have been Jeff Hardy's breaking point in his career to be like, man, I'm really fucking up, man. Because the thing is, right, he was good for a minute, and then he fucked up again later in life. He's probably, I think he's fucked up like 2 more times after this. He cool right now, but like, Jeff, if you ever see this, man, we love you, man. We love you, man. Your family love you. We love you, man. Just try to do what you can to get right, man. Just try, bro.
This is where the circus starts. Jeff makes his entrance, or at least attempts to make his entrance, as he's about a minute past his cue.
This is
He's
crazy.
stumbling around the impact
Drunk
zone
as
while
hell.
playing with his shirt and singing the words to his entrance theme. It does go hard, so I get it. He eventually gets to the ring. Sting now makes his way to the ring. As the crowd bows and he raises the belt, in the background you see referee Brian Hebner put up the dreaded X, and we now know that this isn't going to happen the way it was going to. Jeremy Borash makes the introductions before the bell rings. Eric Bischoff comes out and announces that it'll be a no DQ match to the live audience. He calls an audible off the mic and tells Sting to get Jeff in a Scorpion Death Drop to keep him down for the 3 to end this train wreck as soon as possible. The bell rings and hell begins. For about
Yeah.
50 seconds, Jeff teases tossing his shirt into the
Get him
crowd
out of there,
before
bro.
just dropping it onto the apron. Sting hits some punches and a kick before getting Jeff into a Scorpion Death Drop, putting his entire
Then he
weight onto
forces
his
that.
shoulders
He
to
said,
secure the
"Sit
3
down.
and to end
You're
this."
not kicking
Jeff
out, bro.
sells it,
Sit
and
down.
He's very confused as the ref raises Sting's hand. The crowd chants bullshit for that bullshit ending. Sting famously responds with, "I agree," and the show ended. TNA apologized for
I
this by
agree.
giving everybody who purchased the pay-per-view 6 months free of their on-demand service.
That's
Admittedly,
real.
it's been a while since
Refunded,
I've watched
nigga.
this match back, and I've never really felt any sort of way about it other than pity. This is the first time I've
Yeah.
watched this back and felt genuine frustration, and while some of it is at Jeff for his irresponsible and damaging actions, it's more on TNA for even allowing this travesty to happen in the first place. According to Bischoff, Jeff had made an appearance for the 11 a.m. mandatory call time and was not seen again until right before the main event. Victory Road started at around 8 p.m. Eastern. The shows end up being around 2.5-3 hours. So let's say the main event started around 10:30. You didn't see the guy for over 11 fucking hours.
That's insane,
and you
bro.
still put on the match.
Awful
I want to
company.
clarify, Jeff is a grown-ass man and he deserved any repercussions that he would get as a result of this, but you don't see one half of your main event for 11 fucking hours. You definitely know about his habits at this point and you just decide to throw him out there to embarrass yourself? Whether Dixie Carter was in Gorilla or not, Eric Bischoff made an awful decision that has plagued the perception of TNA for years, even past his fucking tenure. Again, Jeff's a grown-ass man who should know better than to risk the safety of himself and his opponent by going out there drunk and high, but he did face Naito in a similar state a couple of months earlier after all, and look how well that ended up going for the company. I'm
Yeah.
going to leave my grievances here because we have a little bit left to go, but never tell me that Eric Bischoff is a respected figure when it comes to talking about pro wrestling. He's a fucking joke. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's
though,
good.
So let's
Eric
move on
Bischoff
before
hate.
I
Look
say
at
even more. Jeff was suspended by TNA and completed a 120-day rehabilitation course. He
Yeah,
was
that's a
obviously
long-ass
removed from
time.
Immortal, and TNA redesigned the title. Jeff made his eventual
4
return
months.
at the August 25th tapings in Huntsville, Alabama, 5 days after Matt had been released by TNA following a DUI. Jeff
That's
apologized
wild.
to the fans and acknowledged that he had hit rock bottom. He asked for one more shot and that he would prove himself. Jeff had programs with Jeff Jarrett, Bobby Roode, and Kurt Angle following his return, and immediately showed how much more concise and competent of a performer he was than he was a year ago. He entered the Bound for Glory series, made it to No Surrender in the semis where he beat both Samoa Joe and Bully Ray in the same night to win the series and face world champion Austin Aries at the 2012 Bound for Glory event. At that event, 2 years after his first world title win, Hardy completed his redemption by defeating Aries and winning his 3rd TNA world title. I can't explain it nearly as well in a brief paragraph. This is one of my favorite stories told in
It
TNA.
is the GOAT in the flesh. I'm the GOAT, and that guy's the GOAT, man. Big Jeff. You know what? You're the GOAT as well.
and a prime example as to how you can use a personal struggle to your benefit in wrestling. Jeff held the title until March of 2013 when he lost the title to Bully Ray, and this is where I believe you can pinpoint to where the beginning of the end for TNA was, but I digress. But yeah, that was Jeff Hardy, the Antichrist of professional wrestling. What did you think? Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video.
All right, that's the end of it. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. That was the Antichrist of pro wrestling. Talking about Jeff as a heel, man. Jeff as a heel was very interesting, man. Cause like he had the slick back hair, the cigarette, he was different. But like them drugs was whooping his ass. That liquor was whooping his ass. It was a really bad time for bro. But I'm glad he figured it out, man. He got right after that. But man, that was an interesting time of wrestling history. But yeah, shout out to KLA Clips for that video.